Welcome, everybody, to our Platform Academy session for this week. I'm Sharon Barnes, the Platform Outbound Product Manager, and I'm incredibly excited for today's session that we have lined up. Before we get started, a couple quick housekeeping logistics. These presentations are crafted with you in mind, and our goal is to inspire you with fresh ideas and practical use cases that elevate your understanding of our platform tools. One more housekeeping item, which is Safe Harbor. We may cover some forward-looking features for ServiceNow Studio today, so just keep that in mind as we're going through. And on that note, let's get to the good stuff. I am thrilled to introduce the fantastic speakers, Sharon Barnes and Andrew Barnes, who are going to take us through our journey today. Less frustration, more innovation with ServiceNow Studio. Andrew, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, certainly. Happy day, everyone, and thanks for having me on, Sharon. I'm Andrew Barnes. I'm a product management director here at ServiceNow. I'm in the platform business unit in a subsection we call App Engine. And so we build a lot of low-code development tools like ServiceNow Studio. So I've got a team of product managers, and ServiceNow Studio is our flagship product in that portfolio. I've been in the ServiceNow ecosystem for a little over 12 years. Been at ServiceNow itself something like 7 years. So I worked at a couple of customers, a partner, and have enjoyed working at ServiceNow in a variety of roles. So excited to talk to you about ServiceNow Studio.
Thank you. On that note, let's go ahead and dive in. I appreciate you joining me for today.
Well, aren't you going to introduce yourself?
Oh, fair enough. I'm Sharon Barnes. I have been with ServiceNow for approximately 6 months now, in the broader ecosystem for 5 years. And my passion is about making technology accessible to all. And with that, my path has taken me through a variety of roles from business analyst to developer to platform owner, both with product companies as well as with customers. And that's me. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into ServiceNow Studio and how it can benefit and simplify your development processes. So as we get into this, let's go ahead and look at our agenda and dive into the key points for ServiceNow Studio. First, we explain what is ServiceNow Studio. It's our powerful tool for building apps. Next, we'll explore how the experience brings all of our development tools together in one place, improving efficiency. Then, moving at warp speed, we're going to discover features that help developers work faster, smarter. And last, we'll look at our final frontier, how generative AI is built in to Now Assist for Creator, helping us automate tasks to improve productivity. Now, with that, let's take a look at first, what is ServiceNow Studio? And can we do our first poll, which is going to be, how many of you have used ServiceNow Studio? So it's an all-in-one development environment. It's like having all of your tools in one big toolbox so that you don't have to keep looking for them everywhere. Second, it's easy to use. It has a simple navigation and a powerful search to help you find what you need quickly, just like a treasure map. And third, it all works together, letting you work on the different parts of your app at the same time without any problems or conflicts. And going from there. So let's take a quick look at our survey results. Looks like about 60% of us have not used it before. At least most of us have heard of what it is, so that is good. But let's dive into some of those features. First, the developer unified tools experience. So with this, we know that the developer experience is important in our tech universe. So getting it right is like making sure that our spaceship is not just loaded with every new widget and gizmo, but is functional and intuitive to navigate. And this way, we can attract and enable the best developers in our ecosystem. And before ServiceNow Studio, I felt like developing on the platform was a little bit like navigating a chaotic asteroid field with just builders everywhere. And that caused me and our developers to lose precious time switching between different tools within the platform to figure out what was the best way to build. So, for example, how many ways are there to create a record producer? Off the top of my head, I can think of at least four. So that is a time saver in that, just not having to waste the bandwidth figuring out which way should I use. Now with ServiceNow Studio, everything is unified and simplified. It's like having a sleek, high-tech command center where all of those controls are brought together in one place. And this makes our developers' lives so much easier and helps them make their work faster and smarter. So, thanks to ServiceNow Studio, our tech innovators can focus on creating amazing apps without getting lost in the chaos. And this centralization and discoverability allows developers to find and learn about the various tools available to them. And it does this with documentation and community links on the card that open in the builder within ServiceNow Studio. And I think this is like having a warp drive for productivity. All right, so moving into some of those developer features. Now, the first one I want to point out is that ServiceNow Studio isn't just a powerful tool for new apps. It has an ability to search through your existing apps, files, and code. So imagine having a super smart robot that can find everything you need in a blink of an eye. And that's what this feature does. So my favorite part as a developer is the code search. Many years ago, I was told what would I need to stop using Legacy Studio, and I said they would not be able to pry that from my hands until they made code search easy and accessible somewhere better else. And so I love having this here because it's like that navigational map showing me where all of the hidden code is within my instance, which makes my development journey smoother trying to figure out how things are interconnected. So with ServiceNow Studio, we can explore that galaxy of apps, files, codes with precision and ease.
Yeah, searching is such an important ability for developers. So finding the right thing is such an important step. And I love that you've added the CreatorCon robot to this slide. And, he's so cute. So if hopefully some of you were able to attend Knowledge who is attending this session today, and if you haven't, a lot of the content from Knowledge is available, on demand. And so if you were unable to attend, go catch some of those recordings. It was a great event.
It definitely was. All right. Looking at my next favorite feature. Question I normally get asked is about what types of files can I work on in ServiceNow Studio? Now, it supports both global files and scoped applications, which makes collaborating and modular development a breeze. It also supports update sets as well as app customization so that we can manage changes and deploy smoothly. This ensures everything runs perfectly. So in short, ServiceNow Studio is intended to be our all-in-one tool for developing and managing all metadata. Now, moving on. Ooh, error. I gotta say, I have never liked seeing this error message as I was developing. And, so many times it popped up and it just stopped the flow of what I was doing. So moving from there, with ServiceNow Studio, we've all had that frustration of we're doing our development work and suddenly we get stopped with that wrong scope, can't edit. Now, the very first thing ServiceNow Studio is aiming to fix was this problem, and it allows us to work seamlessly across multiple scopes, saving us headaches and lost time. So it's sort of like, I think of it as a universal translator for all of my scope issues while developing.
Yeah, it's one of those features. So this is a key ServiceNow Studio feature. But it's one of the ones that it's kind of hard to visualize while you're using it because the lack of that pain point isn't like super visually noticeable. You're like, oh, I can just, when I open a thing, I can edit it. That's great. That's what I wanted to do. So when we're showing off ServiceNow Studio, I have to like point out that, hey, you didn't have to switch your scope. And we know that developers, when they're doing their work, that the majority of the work that they have to do, even for a single dev task,
Mhm.
is a multi-scope effort. And so that's why we made this change so that you can work across multiple scopes without having to take any particular action, which is, I think, my favorite thing for sure.
I agree. Well, I like search just a little better, but this is also really awesome to remove that pain point. We have a couple questions in here, so I'm going to ask Andrew if you can jump
I,
in and
I
let us
am
know.
going and answering those questions right now.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I will move into our next feature. So another great feature released with the Yokohama version of the Studio or ServiceNow Studio is the Experience Switcher. And it provides a way to jump around between different developer experiences. So from Creator to ServiceNow Studio to the ServiceNow IDE. And this is all without any hassle. So it makes our workflow as developers as smooth as can be. The other thing I really like about this is as an admin, the switcher enables us to make the user access configuration the right way, thus enabling the right people to have the correct permissions. And it's like giving each crew member a special card to access only the tools they need. And this keeps our instances secure and efficient. So with this feature, ServiceNow Studio not only makes the development process faster, but also helps our team work together like a well-coordinated crew. All right, and then taking a look at another great Yokohama feature where ServiceNow Studio upgraded from just a partial module or pop-up to create files to a full screen file creation experience. Now, this just gives you a giant holographic screen-like experience where you can see everything clearly and work without the distractions of other things. And it just makes it easier for the developers to focus on the task they're working at to build amazing things. It keeps them in the zone and improves user experience as an overall consistency in the ServiceNow integrated development environment. And this consistency is crucial because it keeps the developers productive and efficient. All right. And then moving into our final frontier, the Now Assist Creator. So with this, there's a lot of great Now Assist features out there. And to understand what it does for you, I want you all to imagine you've got a super smart robot buddy. I picture the CreatorCon robot because that's the sticker I have on my computer. And I want you to think of that as a buddy that is going to help you with your tasks and projects. And the Now Assist for Creator is just like that for the developers. It brings generative AI right into the workflow, making everything faster and easier. So this means that they can find solutions to automate tasks without breaking a sweat. So some of those features include that it already has the powerful place to build apps, but with Now Assist App Generator, it helps to create new apps from scratch, like building a spaceship with just a few clicks. Another great one is app summarization, where it can summarize what each app does so you know exactly what's going on. That is probably my favorite of these features because I will never forget the times that my manager has come to me as a developer and said, "We've got all of these apps in this instance. What do they do?" And if you're like me, you may be a fantastic developer and you can figure out what an app does, but you're probably not the one who made every single one, and you don't know what all of them do, and it takes time to do that, to analyze and figure out what they are. So the app summarization could have saved me probably at least a week of time at multiple different partners that I worked for. Flow generation is also a great one because with this, it creates workflow, making sure everything runs smoothly. Playbook generator can create simple step-by-step guides to help your users never get lost on their mission. Code generator is where it writes the code for you. It's like having that robot that does your math homework, but also shows all of the work behind the math problem as well. So it helps there. And then with test generation, that's going to create those automated tests to make sure everything works perfectly. Because I think we can all say we do not invest enough time in testing. So if we can make test generation easier, we can do better testing along the way. So with Now Assist for Creator, our developers can work more efficiently and productively with their trusty AI sidekick. And on that note, I say let's get a demo of ServiceNow Studio. Andrew, would you like to steal our screen share?
Absolutely happy to.
Thank you.
Um, Let me share my screen. Let's do it. How does that look?
Marvelous.
All right, let's get going. So I am in a Yokohama instance with ServiceNow Studio loaded. So I've logged in as a developer on this instance. A couple of things to note really fast is if you're on Yokohama, you already have ServiceNow Studio installed, but do upgrade your version of ServiceNow Studio. So while this is installed by default in your Yokohama instance, as you upgrade to Yokohama, you'll get the November version of ServiceNow Studio by default. And so please do go upgrade that version of ServiceNow Studio in your instance as you're able to, so that you get our latest enhancements. So at least one of the things that was asked for feedback in the chat has already been done, and they just need to upgrade to the latest version. So let's show you a little bit around the interface and what ServiceNow Studio is. So I'm on the ServiceNow Studio homepage right here. So it shows me my recently opened files and apps, and allows me to quickly navigate to those. One of my favorite things to do. So I've preloaded a couple of things just to make sure that everything loads fast. But like I can tell it to open this business rule, and it knows, hey, wait a second, I've already got that business rule open, and takes me right to that tab. The next thing to notice, which we definitely highlighted it in the presentation, but I just have to reiterate, is if you look at the top here, the tabs that I have available, you'll actually see that it, in that second row, it actually tells me what kind of object it is and what scope it's in. So this is the AI search for next experience scope. If I switch to this other tab, I'm now in the global scope, and you can see that I'm able to edit both of these without having to do any further interaction from me as that user. So now I have to use that scope picker to switch. There were some questions in the Q&A that I answered, but I love to do it live as well, which is, what happens to my update set when that happens? And so down here in the bottom left, if you can see, this is a change. So where the scope and the update set picker are is now in the bottom left instead of the top right. And that's to align to more of the traditional developer ecosystem interactions happen. Like if you use VS Code, this is where that kind of stuff lives in that interface, and we're trying to align to that. But you can see I can create an update set and leverage it for the global scope here. So dynamic update story that I was working on here. So this is the update set for this global object now. And if I switch over to my business rule for AI search, I'm in a different scope. So thus I need a different update set. So I would need to create the update set that I want to work on in this scope here. And it keeps that attachment between the update set and the scoped object. And if I had a second thing in AI search open, which I don't right now, it would use that same update set that I set for AI search. So we're really trying to drive consistency and get the right stuff in the right update sets for you. We did talk about that, this allows me to open basically all metadata types are able to be opened and launched in ServiceNow Studio. So I had some business rules open. I've got a flow open. I've got a table and table builder open. I've got a workspace and UI builder open. And all of this is right here at my fingertips in ServiceNow Studio. And one of the neat things about having this unified developer experience where I can launch all of these tools is that we actually have control over this interface now. So whereas as an example, in the regular platform view, we don't have full control of that because it's not just for developers. But since we own ServiceNow Studio in this experience, we get to control everything that's on the screen and focus it just for developers. So let's open up the file navigator and show you a little bit around this. So on the left-hand side, I've got some choices. I can launch a search. So I can either do like a name-based search or code search with this little toggle. So I could, do a code search and say, oh, let's do something like Glide Record Secure, because we're all using Glide Record Secure, right? And do a search for that. I can select which application I want to search in and launch that. And this will open up the search results for me for code search. And I can see they're grouped by type. I can look at the business rule, get a little preview of where it's at in that business rule. And of course, I got more results, so I adjusted my screen. Thanks, demo. So I can get a little preview of where my search term was in there, and then I can open up that file here in ServiceNow Studio if I want as a new tab. So the search is super powerful. Other things I can do is create. So I can create new objects now. So I could create a new app or I could create a new file. So if I say I want to create a new file, I'll let it know which scope I need to be in. And so the key difference, the scope picking is now centralized to when I'm creating an object versus when I'm editing it. So this is when you need to pick your scope is during creation time. And now I have all of the metadata types that are available to me grouped by categories. So I could dive into automation and go down to flow and say, give me a new flow. So we centralize that create experience all into this one interface, which is super powerful. Gotta cancel that. So what else do we have? We have showing our apps. So the first thing that I hear from folks is when they use ServiceNow Studio and they see this list and they're like, where's the rest of my apps? And this is just something to get used to, is that we start you in the custom app list, but you can easily remove this filter or change it. So I can say, show me just the stuff from the store, show me everything, show me fluent apps, show me custom apps. So you can edit any app type that is in your instance in ServiceNow Studio. So, if you're used to using some of our other experiences, you might have seen messages like, oh, well, you can't edit that here. We don't believe in that sign. And so it doesn't exist here. If you have the authorization to edit a thing, you can edit a thing here. So you can open up all the apps that are in your instance that you have the right to edit in ServiceNow Studio. The file categorization. So if you don't know the scope and objects in, so if you're not working in that sort of app-centric view where you know exactly I'm working in those one or two scopes and I'm mainly looking at those. So if you need a more flexible, give me all the metadata types, that's where file categories come in. So you can use the navigator here to, filter down to things like business rules. So if I want to filter to business rules, I can say, hey, give me the business rule table. And so this is basically an abbreviated list view of the business rule. And so I can look for things like, user, how about add user? I think there's 3 business rules that have add user in there. And so I can use this to launch those business rules. If for perhaps searching by name isn't good enough for me, I can open this I can open up the list of business rules and then do, complex filtering with the regular condition builder here. And if I return back to the top here, what you'll see is these are all grouped by type. So this is the parent category grouping. We have two styles. You can do not parent and you can do parent. I prefer parent, so much so that that's now the default. So now it is, as of the May release, the parent
Yeah.
category grouping is the default one. And so you can see under automation, I've got all of those automation tools that you'd find in like Workflow Studio all grouped here together. Decision tables, flows, subflows, playbooks, triggers, the flow actions, they're all here and available to me to launch in this grouping under automation. A few more things real quick in the interface. We've got bookmarks. So if you want to save things, I don't have any saved in this demo, but if you want to bookmark something, say you want to, have a filter on the business rule table that you save as a bookmark here in ServiceNow Studio, you could do that. Super useful to me as a developer is recents. So I use recents a lot. And that homepage is nice for the last 6 things, but when I need more than that, this recents list comes in really handy because I'm like, what was I working on yesterday? I need to pick that back up because I got, distracted by a higher priority thing that came in. It's really helps me get back into my flow and context by being able to launch any of the things that I need to do. This one's already open. But you get the idea. I can launch this history of items and search easily for the right thing so I can get back to doing the development work that I want to do as a developer. One of the new things that has just happened recently, let me show you, is we have finally, drum roll a little bit. This is a future looking thing, but it's all done. So this is our August release build that I'm showing you right now, which does now support dark mode. So I can say, hey, put ServiceNow Studio into dark mode, and we can get all of the lovely dark mode yummies by switching into dark mode. I'm gonna turn that off really quick because for some, I just I don't I'm not personally wild about dark mode. I know a lot of people are. And then the last thing I'll show you here in ServiceNow Studio is Now Assist. So you mentioned in your PowerPoint that we have access to these Now Assist for Creator capabilities if you're entitled to them. And maybe this is a demo instance that we're just upgrading to our August release, and maybe it's not working today. So sorry for that. But here in the analysis panel, you'll be able to access things like app generation, which will allow you to edit an app in a conversational style interface with that Now Assist. And while you're working in line you have access to, if they're installed, things like the ability to use flow generation. So when I create a flow, which I was almost all the way at before, so I'll really quickly do that again. Flow, you'll have access to those skills in line if they're installed, which apparently they're not. I'm bad. We haven't finished updating everything yet, but the ability to do flow generation would be right here if that's installed in your instance. So this is a good example. If you think you should have that and you come in here and you don't see it, you probably need to update your Analysis for Creator plugin, which is what I need to do in my instance. And that is what I for sure wanted to show you in ServiceNow Studio. Was there anything else before I stop my screen share, Sharon, that you think I should show our wonderful audience?
Nope, that was perfect. Thank you.
Were there any questions that you wanted me to address? Are there any additional charges for ServiceNow Studio? Absolutely not. It's free. It's a default plugin. It's automatically installed, and you have access to it in your instance. And I will go ahead and stop the share, and then I will go and answer a few more of the questions in the Q&A.
I like that plan.
Andrew, I have a question for you.
Absolutely. Happy day, Adam. Love
I am going to
questions.
be a disconnected voice because I just watched A New Hope and you brought up dark mode. Um, we were looking at Now Assist in ServiceNow Studio, which looks
Mhm.
awesome. Can I try that out on my PDI?
Unfortunately, you can't try out Now Assist in your PDIs. We have been looking at ways to get that available to customers in more open manners. But because it costs ServiceNow money to leverage those generative AI skills, basically none of our Now Assist skills are available in those personal developer instances at this time.
But ServiceNow Studio is there, so we can still go there and we can use everything else we saw, but the Now Assist component across the board will not be available in PDIs at this time.
Absolutely, yeah. So any Xanadu or Yokohama instance that you have that's a PDI will automatically have ServiceNow Studio installed and ready for you to leverage. Basically everything I showed you today, because I didn't show you any of the Now Assist parts. So you should have access to everything I showed you today in those personal developer instances. Unless you're on, well, if you're on Xanadu, some of the things will be slightly different because it's a slightly older version of ServiceNow Studio, but effectively it's the same.
And no dark mode till August.
No dark mode till August.
I've got a question in the chat. Does dark mode apply only to ServiceNow Studio or the entire instance?
Excellent question. So we actually have two different dark modes that we're supporting in ServiceNow, which is one is developer centric and one is not developer centric. And those settings are separate and distinct. So there is dark theming available in the next experience for the platform theming. And that will apply to the non-developer spaces. But the setting that I showed you in ServiceNow Studio, that is how you apply the developer dark mode. So it'll apply to any of the developer tools like ServiceNow Studio, any of the interfaces that we service in ServiceNow Studio, and also if you launch any of those developer builders external to ServiceNow Studio, that setting and preference will still apply there. So if you launch Workflow Studio or Table Builder as a standalone, you'll still get that dark mode setting that you set when you were in ServiceNow Studio.
That is interesting. All right. And we have a couple questions about update sets. When it uses the update sets to put them in the right thing, does it merge them or batch them together, or is that an action that the developer still has to take prior to deployment?
Oh, excellent question. So right now, as of today, it doesn't do anything to group those update sets for you. But we did throw up that safe harbor. I am cooking up something in the background for release. Hopefully next year is our intention right now to be able to make development a more of a task-centric occurrence, and we'd handle the creation and grouping of those update sets to the task that you're working on, and then would be able to do things like deploy all of that work together in a singular batch. But that is a future looking thing. But awesome question.
Perfect. And have a couple questions about Git integrations, which I
Yeah,
think is a safe
absolutely.
harbor item as well, future looking.
So I answered it in one of the questions, but it's come up like 3 or 4 times now. So happy to answer it live, which is source control is not like the experience for committing to source control is not currently live, but it is live in our August version of ServiceNow Studio. So I could have actually shown you that when I was on the screen share. So it is coming. If you are leveraging ServiceNow Studio today in your instance, you can still launch the Legacy Studio or App Engine Studio and do your Git commit from the UI there. It will still work. but you don't have that interface in ServiceNow Studio yet. But it is, I can freely share that that is coming in August because, well, the build is already done, and we will be releasing that coming up here in August.
All right. And ooh, lovely question with what happens to Legacy Studio? Is it going away?
Yeah, so good question. So Legacy Studio is going to be retired. So we're going to take it through the deprecation process starting in August. So we have feature parity and feature parity plus as of August. And so we're going to retire that old legacy. So new instances starting in the Zurich timeframe. So if you get a brand new Zurich instance, you won't be able to launch the Legacy Studio. If you're an existing customer, we'll follow our regular process for this, which is we announce it in Zurich, and then it will continue to be supported for 2 family releases after our announcement. And then it will still be in your instance, but it will stop getting updates and support based off of that schedule.
All right. And I am going to pause for a moment for the questions and do our takeaways, and then we'll loop back to our questions. Just a reminder, do make sure you are entering those in the Q&A feature so that we get that and track those, because they are a great way for us to help answer frequently asked questions in the future. All right, so ServiceNow Studio takeaways. 1, it is your all-in-one development environment. 2, it allows you to very easily avoid that error message of wrong scope, can't edit. It also allows you to work on all of your metadata items in one easy builder, one easy location or toolbox. It's got a fabulous search tool that allows you to find both just the apps you're looking for or files you're looking for, as well as the code search that we all love. And it's just that improved user experience with the built-in Now Assist robot to help us work easily. All right, thank you all for joining us. Any other questions that we've missed?
All right, I think I got. Whoa, man, questions are flying in. Let's answer some of them live.
Okay.
So are we able to lock it down by roles? Absolutely. So in the documentation for ServiceNow Studio, you'll see that there are role permissions for who can access what experiences. So you can control Creator Studio, ServiceNow Studio, and ServiceNow IDE, depending on which of those you have installed. And that experience switcher that Sharon showed you is all role-based. So absolutely is role-based. Does it support editing now experience inline editor dashboards? I I don't know the answer for sure on that one, but I think yes. So you can launch pretty much all metadata objects and interact with them from ServiceNow Studio. So I'm going to go with yes. But I'm 92% on that one. Is there a way to manage and store global scope changes via source control by yes, absolutely. So if you want to manage global scope changes, you have to create what's called a global app, what I call a global app bundle. So you hit in ServiceNow Studio, you'd hit create app. And one of the choices there is it's defaults to scope, and the other choice is global. If you choose global, you can then do what's called claiming those app files that you'd like to be in that bundle, and then you can leverage source control, Dustin.
Question on that, because I've asked you this in the past. Can one of those files only be in one bundle at a time?
So at a time, yes, but you can switch that claiming between them. So it can be in one at one point, and then a different global app bundle can claim that, but it will only ever be in one at a time.
Cool. Thank you.
I'm not sure I understand the cross-scope editing one, basically around test and production instance. But what I'll answer is the way that we're allowing that cross-scope editing doesn't actually change the underlying metadata in any way differently than you do when you leverage the scope picker. We're just basically removing that scope picker option that you have to do. The metadata doesn't actually get manipulated in a different way. And what is the ServiceNow Studio is the standard, is going to be my answer. That is our key. If you consider yourself a ServiceNow developer, ServiceNow Studio is the place for you.
But you might be biased.
I am absolutely biased, but that you asked
He's
my
still
opinion and I
right.
gave it.
He is still right.
And we're going to wrap up with the last two questions that you've got in. Thank you so much for asking so many questions. I love all the questions. Do we have a deprecation date for App Engine Studio? We will, and we'll announce it as part of a family release, but I won't do so here today. And let's see, the next one is, does it support editing in Employee Center? The answer is it supports all scopes. So the answer is yes, even though you asked a specific question, I'm going to give you the answer that you can edit all scopes. So it doesn't matter which one you asked me, the answer is yes, it can edit any scope. So as long as you have the ability to edit that metadata object, you can edit it in ServiceNow Studio. And then the very last question, we have to update the existing. Yes, to have the unified page, the experience switcher between ServiceNow Studio, Creator Studio, and ServiceNow IDE. Yes, you do need minimally the February version of ServiceNow Studio, but if you're in there updating it anyway, go ahead and get yourself the May version of ServiceNow Studio. And with that, I have answered all the questions live that we have in the queue. And I just want to say thank you so much for having me on, Sharon. And because I don't think we've ever done a show together. So this is sneaky news maybe for some people, but we're actually married.
There's the
So
wedding picture.
yeah. And I don't think we've both done a lot of ServiceNow videos, and I don't think we've ever done one together. So thank you for having me on your Platform Academy and showing off ServiceNow Studio. I was excited to be here. And with that, I'll let you wrap up our session.
Thank you so much for joining us. I think it is an amazing product for myself and for all developers, platform owners, and administrators out there. On that note, thank you all for joining us today as well. We've got a few future sessions, just so you know where and what they are coming up. And next one is going to be on the 24th, where we're looking at mobile forms and how to autofill input onto those films easily and effectively. All right. On that note, have a beautiful day and look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks.